you're someone healing from narcissistic abuse, healing from self-blame is one of the critical part of the entire healing journey, I would say. Because every time you quiet that voice of shame and blame, you make space for self-worth, self-love and compassion. In this video, we are going to explore from where that inner critic comes and how narcissistic abuse plants it, and what can you do to begin transforming that inner critic into a voice of support. The inner critic is a relentless negative voice in your head that tells you that you're not good enough, that you may have made a mistake, or you're a failure. While everybody has, to one extent, inner critic, for a survivor of narcissistic abuse, that voice is not just one of a time. It's actually a pervasive and punishing force that chip away their sense of self. And the inner critic is actually the direct internalization of the abuser's messages. Narcissistic people depend on constant criticism, gaslighting, manipulation, shame, everything to control their victims, and they will repeatedly tell them that you are selfish, crazy, lazy, incompetent, and they might tell all the bad things happening is also your fault. Over a period of time, your mind, just as a psychological survival mechanism, begin to adopt these messages as its own. And it's a way of anticipating and preempting the abuser's attacks. It's a desperate attempt to protect your own well-being. So this creates a shame loop, and you feel shame because of the abuse, first of all, and then your inner critic shames you for feeling that way, for not being perfect, and or maybe not able to escape sooner, and you become your own abuser. And you might continue the cycle of criticism and punishment long after the physical and emotional abuse has stopped. So now let's look at the science behind the inner critic. The psychological mechanisms that keep the inner critic alive are deeply ingrained in our mind and nervous system. One of the primary reasons is introjection. In psychology, introjection is the unconscious assimilation of external messages and attitudes into our own personality. And it's like a computer virus that you install without realizing it. The abuser's voice, their exact phrases and judgmental tone, that becomes your own internal monologue. And this is actually a survival tool. If you can anticipate and believe those abusers' criticism, you can try and fix yourself and avoid the abuse. So that's the whole idea. And this leads to a state of constant self-surveillance. The inner critic put you under the microscope, monitoring your every thought, every word, every action. And it's a form of hypervigilance turned inward. You're constantly scanning for any potential flaw or a mistake that could invite criticism from other people. And you may find yourself obsessing over even a small detail from a past conversation and replaying it over and over, all driven from the fear of being seen as wrong or broken. Your nervous system, conditioned by the constant threat of the abuse, cannot relax even when you are alone. And this fear fuels an intense need for perfectionism, because you were taught that any mistake would be met with severe punishment, and you set impossible standards for yourself, and you try to be the perfect employee, maybe partner, in an effort to avoid any criticism. And this is an exhausting effort actually, because the inner critic is never satisfied. It moves the goalpost, making sure that you always feel like you are not enough. So if this is going on for a long period of time, what is the impact? What happens if we hold on to the inner critic? The long-term impact of this constant self-criticism is very deep. The most obvious effect is low self-esteem. The relentless negative commentary from our own inner critic diminishes our self-worth, actually a sense of self-worth, breaks down your ability to feel worthy of love or success or happiness in life. So you may subconsciously push away positive relationships because your inner voice tell you that you don't deserve them. And the low self-esteem often lead to self-sabotage because your inner critic is so convinced that you're going to fail or you will fail, you may subconsciously create situations that ensure failure. You may procrastinate on an important project, maybe shy away from new opportunities, or maybe choose unhealthy relationships. And your actions begin to align with your negative narrative of the inner critic, confirming its false beliefs and keeping you stuck in a painful cycle. And you become the victim and the person who does this harm to yourself. And it can affect everything from your career to your ability to form healthy relationship, etc. So now that we looked at the signs and the impact of this inner critic, what can we do? How can we start healing from it? So healing from our inner critic is not about getting rid of this entirely, but it's about transforming its voice from the cruelty or maybe being so critical about everything that you do into one of kindness. Be kind, having self-compassion, etc. It's a process of consciously reparenting yourself. The very first step is developing self-compassion, and it is the opposite of self-criticism. Instead of judging yourself for a mistake, you can respond with kindness and understanding. When the inner critic says you are maybe stupid, you can calmly reframe and say that I'm a human being and I make mistakes and that's okay, right? And it's a conscious act of speaking to yourself with the same care and love and understanding you actually show to somebody you love, right? And you are teaching your nervous system that it is safe to make mistakes. The second thing that you can do is engage in the inner child work. The inner critic often speaks with a voice of the abuser from the past trauma. So by connecting with your inner child, you can validate the pain they experienced and offer them that kindness and safety they deserved at that point in time. And this helps you to reframe that original message and the abuse actually and reclaim your sense of self. And you can say to that, younger part of you, for example, I see you and your feelings are valid and you are safe now, right? It was a past trauma. And it's a way of addressing the root of the trauma directly. Finally, practicing reframing. When the inner critic offers a negative statement, you can deliberately and consciously challenge it. For example, the inner critic says that you will fail anyway. So you can reframe it by saying, I'm going to try, and whatever happens, I will learn from it. So this is not about ignoring the voice. You heard the voice, but it's about giving new, more balanced, and helpful script. With consistent practice, you can begin to restore the part of you that knows your worth. The inner critic actually was planted during the abuse, and healing means reclaiming your voice as one of kindness, not cruelty. And the work is not about becoming perfect, it's about becoming human being actually. And healing from narcissistic abuse is not about becoming somebody else, it's about becoming who you truly are and be able to live an authentic and value driven life. And by surviving and navigating this toxic circumstances, you actually proved that you are really, really strong. But healing may ask more, something different. It can be patience, it can be courage, it can be, self-trust, it can be self-love. And the good news is you don't have to do it all by yourself. And you are welcome to join MomentousRise community anytime. And for more survivor focused guidance and resources, check the link in my bio, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel for videos about narcissism and narcissistic abuse. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care.